Hello and welcome to Onesies, the podcast of one-season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
And my name is Emily.
And we are working our way through the 1991 comedy gem.
CBS?
Sure. Somebody made a bad choice that summer. Morton and Hayes. We are on episode 3, Society Saps. And I don't know. Maybe with our 3 things apiece, we will give away some of our take on this episode. So what are your 3?
Social commentary.
Okay.
The dance scene and the band leader.
Okay. So mine are going to be LOL fart, cake, and coming across the ones where I just texted you instead. And I did cake. Why I oughta.
Okay. So we'll start with mine. So this episode is called Society Saps. It is commented upon in the introduction by Rob Reiner that it was the Great Depression and that viewers, the movie-going audience was looking for something about rich people and wanting to watch rich people do rich people things. And so the screenwriter, this fake screenwriter, brought in his boys, Morton and Hayes, to make this movie. I've seen it. It's in literally every Marx Brothers movie is some variation of this, with Chico and Harpo specifically being the down and out, entering into sort of, the fish out of water thing, entering into high society and running amok. And that's essentially what this is. They need a job. They attend some coming out party for some young ladies as waiters and decide that their ticket out of Poor Town is to marry these young ladies. To hilarious results. I don't know. Do we need a suicide content warning in this? No, because they don't actually commit suicide, but they do jump out of a window at the end.
Oh, that's yeah.
Spoilers.
No, but there is some content warning for that scene. Okay, so the episode starts with them back in their apartment. Now, I'm not super familiar with comedy duo shorts, so I don't know if people ended up on the same filming locations. I assume they must have. But this is very clearly their detective set, even though there's no continuity to that.
Yeah.
And there's this lengthy sequence with them waking up. They have a Murphy bunk bed. They have a train directly outside the window, including people talking to them as they pass by and wait. Morton and Hayes are able to get on the train when they leave the apartment to commute. A lot of it seems like it should be funny.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's probably been executed well by other people.
Yeah.
60 years in the past.
But there's just no pacing to it.
No.
And then there's also this weird thing where it's like they couldn't afford sound effects.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, Christopher Guest, who also will guest star, he did direct this episode, and he directed the first one, and he didn't do a good job. He doesn't do a good job here either. And looks like I'm wrong. Catherine O'Hara did make a big difference in the first one, because damn, this episode's rough. But we very quickly established that they are out of rent money and they need jobs. And so they find a job in the newspaper. I'm sure that's a very realistic experience of someone in the Great Depression. Was they just opened a newspaper and found a job.
Absolutely.
Just the way it was. What's weird about this setup is that it seems more like an early 30s thing, right? Like the Marx Brothers were doing this. By the time they were doing it in the late 30s, they'd already been doing it through all of their movies, right?
And on the stage. I mean,
right. So it's like their trope, only we don't have Groucho there fucking with Margaret Dumont. Instead, we've got Morton and Hayes bumbling along. The first thing is they break an ice swan.
Yes. At the party when they're working.
Yeah, at the party, and I waited for it to be funny when they brought out the pieces of the ice swan, and then it wasn't.
The scene where they're trying to move the ice swan from the counter to the tray is funnier than the revealing of the broken ice swan to all the rich folk. Like,
yeah,
it never got funny.
Yeah, that's kind of what this episode is. It never got funny.
There's a lot of elements of it that were funny. I thought the Murphy bed was funny, particularly when Eddie lifts it up and Chick is still in bed putting his shoes on. Like, I thought that was funny, but it wasn't like laugh out loud funny. It was like, okay, this is just warming us up for something better, and it just never happened. Never.
But we find out that they are at this party, or they are waiters at this party that is a coming out party for these two rich girls. So we first see, I don't think they're credited because they don't have any lines. No, they don't have the pretty rich girls credited here. We soon discover that the girls in question are Allison Janney and Maria Parkinson. Maria Parkinson plays the heavier twin sister, who her first or second line is cake. And that's when I texted you, is this episode just going to be a bunch of fat jokes? Yep, until it finds other people to mock.
Yep.
It will be. And then Allison Janney is the awkward tall one because this is the period of time when tall women could not be attractive or something. I don't know. Like, it's fucking weird.
It's very weird. It's very weird. But so, and again, I don't know about defending it. I mean, Allison Janney's okay. She does a pretty good job at being like the annoying, super chatty person. But their constitutions, let's say, the tall and the short, kind of match Chick and Eddie pretty well. Although Allison Janney's taller than Bob Amaral by a couple inches. I don't know. But
then Chick and Eddie find out they're worth millions, and so
they're going to abandon their jobs as waiters to then seek out the affections of these rich girls.
Yep. Because no other guys there want them. So, which is absurd. During the Great Depression, especially, like, really, you're not gonna.
So remember, this isn't the Great Depression yet, because at the end, the big reveal is the beginning of the Great Depression, right?
Okay, but that's the big reveal at the end, but that's the big reveal in the movie, so presumably that's the punchline?
I don't know. Whatever.
Because I guess we don't have years on these fake movies because they're not that creative.
Presumably it was released, based on what Rob Reiner said, it was released during the Great Depression, but the time period the film actually takes place in is the lead up to the Depression.
Yes, which is, feel like people stopped making movies about that by the mid-30s, but it was a thing people did use as a punchline.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was quite as effective as, I think there's what's his name? The Twilight guy, Robert Pattinson. One of his movies ends with him walking into the World Trade Center and the text comes up, 9/11, 2001. Yeah.
Wow.
It ends. Yeah, that's how they resolve their movie, is fucking dies in the World Trade Center. What's up?
Wow.
Okay, so this is where we introduce Christopher Guest as the crooner.
Okay, so I loved him in this role. I thought he was funny. I thought the stupid cold potato dance was funny. The whole dancing scene with Morton and Hayes and the two girls was hilarious and funny. And it was slightly reminiscent of Marx Brothers, where they do kind of song and dance numbers, but it's usually one, just the four Marx Brothers, not really women involved. Two, funny. This was just like a straight up like all not quite a Busby Berkeley musical, but kind of. I mean, it was just the four characters doing this silly dance and stand-ins doing flips and stuff. I thought it was really fun. It was very enjoyable, independent of everything going around it. I found it enjoyable. I thought the music was really good. Again, Christopher Guest, I think that's like the perfect role for him, is somebody like that. And I think it was actually him singing. I just thought it was really good. This part was really good. We'll get to Christopher Guest at the end.
Your favorite part.
At the end.
Your favorite. Why are you making those hand signs?
I'm not making any hand signs.
Why are you trying to...
Nobody
Why
can
are
see.
you making V's for victory like Nixon? Yeah. Okay. So, yes, after this guest cameo that has little or no bearing whatsoever on the story, we then, Morton and Hayes then find out that there's going to be a big brunch at the club, but then they get kicked out because the dad or somebody realizes they're waiters. So we cut to them at the club. Or yes, they dress up as explorers to go to the club.
Because they're going to go on a hunt.
Yes. The outfit was funnier than most of the thing. Like, I don't know. At this point, I was just like, what the hell happened? I didn't look up to see that Christopher Guest directed this until today because I fucking knew it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I bet Christopher Guest directed this one too, just because of the timing. Like, it's a long 4 years, 6 years, 7 years between The Big Picture and Big Lebowski, apparently. Anyway, not Big Lebowski. What am I talking about? Waiting for Guffman.
Waiting for Guffman. I was gonna say he didn't direct that.
Yeah, he directed Big Lebowski too. You don't know that. Okay, so this is where we get the old timey talk, and somebody actually says, "Why I oughta," and I was just kind of like, who is this for? Like, this isn't for people who actually like this old who actually, I mean, what would you have even seen?
I was saving this for the end because the last episode I really enjoyed.
Yes.
But after watching this episode, I was like, I'd rather be watching the Marx Brothers. Like, I've seen these Marx Brothers movies 1,000 times. I would rather watch a Marx Brothers movie for the 1,001st time than watch this episode.
Because they're good.
Yeah. But like, but I was also thinking, like, you know, I mean, the home video market was thriving in 1991. Maybe not everything was released on VHS at the time, but I mean, couldn't you go to a video store and rent Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy if you want? Whatever. Instead of watching this.
I mean, you could have, yeah. I mean, and the Three Stooges was still rerunning.
Oh, yeah. Three Stooges.
And things like that. So, but because the audience for this is very specialized, except the show's then not made for that specialized audience. Because the audience, even it being 1991, is going to sit there and nitpick the inaccuracies even when you don't get to it not being good.
We had this exact conversation about the first episode too, by the way.
Yeah.
Literally this exact conversation. And my husband watched the episode with me last week, and he said that it was slow, referentially all over the place, and not very funny. That's how he described it. And he said Kevin Pollak was shit, but I'm not going to confirm. I'm not going to confer with him on that.
No, he can watch the second one and then say that. How about that?
But yeah, I mean, like you said, anybody with any interest in subject matter like this would be nitpicking about it. And he's right. Referentially, it's just all over the place, and it's not consistent and not very good.
No, and the thing about it being slow, this episode's actually only about 18 minutes. So it's closer to the short film is about 18 minutes. So it's closer to what a short would have been, a two-reeler would have been.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the epilogue in a second because we have to get through the hilarious thing here, where basically the guys they save them on a horse thing. Oh, there's a huge fat joke about
She can't
the
get on
one
her
sister
horse.
not being able to get on her horse. And does she
Ugh.
smush something? I can't remember. There's going to be
So
smushing later.
she breaks a booster, like a stool that she's stepping on to get on the thing. And then she steps on Chick and Eddie, and there's a belabored gag of her foot like dangling over Eddie's face, like stepping on his head and like getting under his nose, and it's just a reaction shot for him to be like in pain and grossed out by this woman's feet. Yeah, it was painful to watch. But Chick does jump in and save her, or tries to. But that's also a giant fat joke too. When okay, let me go back really quickly. They're hunting and they're on fake horses, obviously fake horses, with a green screen behind them showing a scene of people out for a hunt. I thought that was funny. That made me laugh. But when Chick jumps over to try to save her because her horse is going too fast and she can't control it, he jumps in behind her, and the joke is that he can't reach his tiny little arms around her big fatty fat waist to reach the reins. And I was like, ugh, no, not good, not good. But then he jumps back on his horse, grabs the reins, and stops. So he does try to save her. Again, he's just marrying her for money, but I don't know. Whatever.
Once they save them, of course, the father is okay with them marrying them.
Yes.
And so they get married. Only then, as you forecast, the stock market crashes, leading to
Dad jumps out
the window.
Jumps out the window when he realizes his fortune is gone. Then Chick and Eddie do a quick like look at each other and follow and jump out the window. And then the two sisters look at each other and shrug and jump out the window.
They land on their new husbands, who are then smushed down to munchkin size. And so they munchkin off. I don't know if these guys are credited. They also use munchkin voices, even though the technology to dub in Chick and Eddie's voices would have existed and would have been done and might have been funnier.
It was them. I don't know. It was them doing munchkin
with the
voices.
Squeaky voices?
Yeah, it was them. It was them. So it wasn't funny.
Okay. So no, it wasn't funny. Well, if they hadn't been doing munchkin voices, maybe it would have been funny. And that's it.
The end.
And then Rob Reiner shows up to threaten having the band leader join him. And it's like, why? Why would you have the band leader from this film join you for an interview, Rob Reiner?
It's because Christopher Guest wrote it.
Did he write it, or did he just direct it?
He wrote it.
Somebody else wrote it.
Somebody else wrote it with him, but he wrote it.
Oh, wow. Yes, he did. Wow. Thank goodness for ad-libbing actors, it looks like. Dick Blasucki, Larry Sanders, Muppets Tonight, Tracy Ullman, Mad TV, Simpsons for a bit after Simpsons was shitty. It's like one of the Damon Wayans shows. That can't be the Martin show. No, Martin Short show. Phenom. Did you watch Phenom?
No, I did not.
Martin Short. Phenom, 1993, was about a tennis pro. Okay. Cool. So yes.
Here we are 50, 60 years later, and they have the band leader on to talk about the cold potato. And it's Christopher Guest as an old man being senile and thinking that that's hilarious.
Just the funniest shit. They just think it's so funny that he doesn't know that Rob Reiner isn't his dad, Carl Reiner. Who the fuck cares about Rob Reiner's nepotism? Like, don't draw attention to the fact that you only got your job because of your dad in the first place. It took, 9 years before you did anything besides be Meathead. Then it took you 5 more years from Spinal Tap to prove you could do anything else with Princess Like, it's just this weird, white guy admitting that he's not.
I don't take issue with that part as much as I do just the criminally unfunny characterization of an old man that Christopher Guest does.
Yeah, I am just being shitty to Rob Reiner because I mean, I don't
hate Rob Reiner for this. I don't hate Rob Reiner for this. Yeah.
There's some optics to the show making a lot of fat jokes, and then Rob Reiner being it's like if it were what's his face, who was in Mel Brooks' movie, who's at the end of
Dom DeLuise. Dom DeLuise.
Yeah. So then they talk about how there is one funny thing where Christopher Guest says Rob Reiner's so stupid he can't believe he dresses himself. And I was like, yeah, you tell Rob Reiner. You got nominated for Misery. I bet you can't dress yourself.
So that is funny. So I just watched it again and I just skipped it. I just skipped the end. So I don't even remember. I hated it so much. I hated it. I wanted to burn it out of my memory.
Don't forget about the feet. So the reason
that's right.
Yeah. Christopher Guest he stopped being a band leader right after Society Saps. Because his right foot grew bigger for some reason, medically. He was on like some drugs and he couldn't dance anymore. But then Rob Reiner has him dance and he falls down. And my last note is, wow, funny.
It's funny because I have band leader not funny. That's the last thing I have written down.
I was being sarcastic in my notes to myself.
Yes. Sarcasm.
Yes.
Okay.
Sarcasm.
I forgot about it after watching this terrible, terrible episode. I forgot about humor. Kevin Pollak had some good facial expressions, some good reactions, probably to bad things though. And Bob Ameral's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make up for the bad writing.
No, it's definitely a forgotten footnote in Christopher Guest's career, but it seems like somebody would have remembered it. Like, I just saw a bit from the late 90s on Mad TV where they were making fun of Weekend at Bernie's. Mm-hmm. And it was Weekend with Tupac. And there were some like deep Weekend at Bernie's 2 cuts, like deep cuts. And I'm like, some writer saw that movie, fucking hated it, and wanted to make fun of it for years. It was still willing to do it.
And they got a job on Mad TV.
So. And they got a job on it. Might have been the writer of this episode. But what my thought is that I can't believe anybody in like 94, 95, or why can't I remember when Guffman came out? 96, I think.
I don't remember.
How nobody was like, this fucking guy made Morton and Hayes. He sucks. I don't care what he did. Like, who cares?
I don't care about Spinal Tap.
No, none of that business. I don't care about Princess, because he wrote Princess Bride, right? No, Goldman wrote Princess Bride.
Wrote it, yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, I can't believe that there wasn't somebody who held a grudge for this, which says more about audiences in the 1990s than it does about...
it was a 6-episode run in the summer of 1991. Nobody remembers this.
Nobody. And
Rob Reiner doesn't remember this.
Just tweet him with...
Don't you dare.
Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to CC you. I'm going to CC your legit Twitter too.
Don't you dare.
Oh, I know what I'm doing the rest of the day.
How dare you? Don't drag me into your Twitter drama.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is, I'm glad we're half over because it's fucking rough.
Yeah. And at least like Police Squad is incredibly problematic, but at least I'll enjoy it because I think it's funny.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a real big step down from the second one too. Like, the first one, you've got Catherine O'Hara as a guest star, and you're like, okay, whether or not you think her performance is successful or not, they know they need a guest star.
Yeah.
The second one, they had Penelope Ann Miller. They knew they needed a guest star. Mm-hmm. This one, it's pre anything Allison Janney. So they're just making fun of their guest stars in a different way. And they're not like having them do anything. It's so weird.
Again, the dance scene I really enjoyed because they were all, I mean, besides like the backflips and stuff, they were doing all of the dance moves. And it was like, oh, here we see, I've never seen Kevin Pollak dance before. I mean, he does a Christopher Walken impression. That doesn't mean he can dance like Christopher Walken, but it was like, oh my God, they're all doing this and they're all in step and it's great. And Bob Amaril's got Broadway experience. And I don't know about the other woman, unfortunately, but they're all doing it. And it was like, oh, this is a whole new side of these characters that we never saw before. We'll never see again, guaranteed. But I really enjoyed that scene for one of those reasons, because I was watching Allison Janney and she's so like tall and lanky that it was like kind of a joy to see her kind of being able to move freely and smoothly without being just awkward and being made fun of.
Yeah. So
anyway, so the next episode is called Oafs Overboard. Speaking of Marx Brothers, this is also directed by Christopher Guest, I'm sorry to say.
Ooh.
But who also is a guest star, and Miss Courtney Cox is a guest star as well.
Okay. Our post Family Ties, pre Ace Ventura, Courtney Cox years here. Okay, we'll see.
Was she in Ace Ventura?
She's in the first one.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That was like,
apparently stories, oh God, I don't like this, borrows from such stories as Beauty and the Beast and Remembrance of Things Past.
Remembrance of Things Past, Proust?
Yeah. I mean, it's not written by Christopher Guest. It's Max Pross, who wrote Seinfeld, The Wonder Years, Gary Shandling, and Monk, and Tom Gamble. Also, they're a comedy writing team.
Couple.
The Critic also, which is great but dated. And problematic, but dated.
That's better. I mean, that's I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet it's gonna be slow, and I bet the jokes are never gonna land.
Yeah.
But
I just want one of them to try to do a Maurice Chevalier impression, just like that Marx Brothers movie. The name of it I can never remember because the names have nothing to do with the plots, but the one where they're on the boat. Anyway.
Night at the Opera?
No, it's one of the four Marx Brothers.
It's crap.
Not Duck Soup, not Horse Feathers, not Animal Crackers. There's two other ones.
Single other ones that we could be thinking of. They're in the barrels?
Yes, they're in the barrels at the beginning. And then at the end, they each try to do their impression of Maurice Chevalier to get up, because that's the only passport that they could swipe was Maurice Chevalier's. And so they each try to prove that they're Maurice Chevalier by singing a song. It's really stupid, and it makes me so happy. And their dad Frenchie is in it. He's like this smiling goof at the bottom of like waiting for everybody to depart from the boat, and he's like waving. It's so cute. I love Frenchie.
Monkey Business?
Monkey Business. Yes, that's the one.
Okay. So yeah, go watch Monkey Business.
Yeah, go watch Monkey Business. But watch this too and enjoy Monkey Business a lot better afterwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So next week, Oafs Overboard. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.